I was just wondering what you thought about Saphira's Rule 34 page.
I don't want to think about it.
Welcome to Between Two Perns. My name is Jackson Dickert, and I'm joined here by best-selling author of The Inheritance Cycle, Christopher Paolini. Thanks for being here, Christopher.
My pleasure.
I'd ask how you're doing today, but I want to move on to questions that I actually care about because we're a little bit strapped for time. I think about a decade ago, I could have asked you some really interesting questions about the Minoa tree getting Aragon pregnant and the Grey Folk and Elva mechanics. But like most people, I haven't thought about the inheritance cycle in more than a decade. So don't worry, we're not going to get into like a big long discussion about any of that today. The thing I want to talk to you about today is Twitter drama. You've been getting in tons of fights with readers lately on Twitter. You've been saying some really awful and hateful things to them just because they're pointing out typos in your book. What's the deal with this divers typo?
Yes, on the first page of Murtag, there's a word divers, which is an archaic word that means many or a multitude or different things. And too many people think that I'm referring to scuba divers. So it is a fight worth having.
I mean, you make up fake words all the time. You're a fantasy author. I think the difference here is that you've made up a fake word which also has a real world definition. A person who dives as a sport, and you've put it on the front page of Murtag without any context clues provided as to how we should interpret this. This is a book that's part of a world that no one has read in more than 10 years. So don't you think that maybe you should apologize to your readers who have waited all this time for a quality product only to be let down by an archaic word, aka a typo on the first page?
Absolutely. In fact, I had a conversation with my editor about this before heading out on book tour, and we'll be reprinting the books, but we're going to translate it all into Pig Latin, which should make it more understandable for readers.
I guess it shouldn't be any surprise, though, that you have a typo on the first page of your book, giving your indie author roots. Any thoughts there?
No, that's absolutely right. Indie authors are known for having lots of typos, bad plots, bad pacing, bad covers. That's a good one. I had a horrible cover to start with. It was just this big dragon eye. You know, no one would want to pick that up.
Let's talk a little bit about how you got your start. Can you tell me a little bit about how you and your family self-published the first Aragon book and what marketing strategies you used?
Oh, it was all nepotism. You know, I wouldn't have gotten published without my parents. So.
Okay.
You know, there's nothing as powerful as a publishing company that's four people sitting around a kitchen table in the middle of rural Montana.
Yeah.
So yeah, without nepotism, I wouldn't have gotten published. You have to embrace something like nepotism if you really want to succeed in today's world. In fact, people don't realize that you actually get a nepotism card. There's a secret club. You go to New York, and there's huge network opportunities. There's branches of the club everywhere, especially strong in Hollywood, of course, and music. Taylor Swift is an example. So, yeah, I mean, if you can get into the nepotism club, I won't say you're guaranteed success, but you got about 80% chance of actually making it that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Do you think your mom and dad would be willing to be my mom and dad?
No, absolutely not. No.
I'll try.
You don't have brown hair, so you know it doesn't work. You have to have brown hair to be a Paolini.
Okay, I'll try to find a different way in, I guess.
Yeah.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
So you kind of went and peddled your books at schools, as I understand, right? It seems to have paid off, though, because it eventually landed in the hands of best-selling author Carl Hiaasen, but not right away. First, your book got in the hands of his stepson, and the kid liked it so much that he told Hiaasen about it, who then got Aragon fast-tracked. With Penguin Random House. I really admire the way that you went for the weakest links, manipulating the minds of our youth and using them to shill your book for you. It's a tried and true marketing strategy, from Girl Scout cookies to coupon books, and I applaud you for your ingenuity. My biggest question here is, do you pay Carl Hiaasen's stepson the agent royalties he so rightfully deserves?
You know, he tried to collect one time,
Yeah.
and I had to hire a couple of people to beat him off, but That came out. Let's try that one again.
Yeah, let's run that one back.
Yeah, he tried to collect one time, but I had to hire a couple of guys to drive him off. But no, you always go for the weakest link. Back when I was self-published and all that, I even tried to get Aragon reviewed by Entertainment Weekly. So I called up the subscription number on the back of the magazine and told them I'd made a mistake and asked them to transfer me over to corporate. And managed to get right to their book reviewer and tried to talk them into reviewing Aragon. So you always go for, as you said, the weakest link.
Okay.
Which
is corporate.
Which is corporate. Ryan, Carl's son, though, I probably owe him a ridiculous amount of royalties.
I'd say so. He made you.
Oh, he did, absolutely. Without him, I'd be nothing.
I guess the lesson here for aspiring authors is that it's not really about finding your target audience, necessarily. You just have to find your target prolific author's stepson and let the kid take it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, that's part of the nepotism package.
Yeah.
The sort of networking inside the industry. This is the stuff that you can never access otherwise, and you'll never get published otherwise. So it's not like you can just grow up in the middle of nowhere in Montana, self-publish a book, and then just become a success, by promoting it. You have to have connections.
Okay, that's genius. I think you could have had an incredible career in designing loot boxes for mobile games based on how good you are at manipulating the
Oh, absolutely. Microtransactions are God's work.
Maybe, you could have a future in your career there.
Maybe I should call up EA and see if I can get hired there.
If not, then Blizzard. They'll
Definitely.
hire anybody these days. Your marketing strategy wasn't the only thing you ripped off, though, was it? Was there anything else that you lifted and called your own?
Well, I'd say Aragon is about as original as the title of this podcast.
That feels fair. That feels deserved.
How long did you have to prompt ChatGTP to get the title of the podcast?
It's actually way better than that. We were sitting down to record the first episode, and Brandon Sanderson was trying to think of a pun, and the pun master himself immediately thought of Dragon Riders of Pern. So ChatGPT, Brandon Sanderson, the quality of work there is about the same, I would say.
Gotcha.
Is it awkward, though, sitting here Between Two Ferns, the original series about Dragon Riders, from a beloved author who was nice enough to give you a blurb for your first novel, knowing that you sort of borrowed the whole Dragon Riders thing?
Oh, not at all. Absolutely shameless about it.
Okay.
And Anne McCaffrey was kind enough to give me not just a blurb, my first blurb.
Wow.
So, funny thing is, I did kind of repay her in the most roundabout way. I was touring in Spain and found out that her books were out of print there. And I talked them up so much that they ended up reprinting the entire series in Spain, and I blurbed her books in Spain. But, it's a small market, so it probably doesn't count.
Right. No, I would say not. Listen, Chris, I'm not like everybody else.
I can tell. Do your parents know?
They don't yet, but I'm going to tell them.
Okay.
I don't think you plagiarized the plot of Star Wars and nearly every world-building element of Lord of the Rings. Sure, there's some coincidences. Aragorn and Aragon sound basically identical, but I believe you when you say that you're just a very simple-minded guy who just changed the first letter of the word dragon down a single letter of the alphabet, and that's how you named your character. Between that and the diverse stuff, I think if you were going to plagiarize, you wouldn't do it so well. You went almost a decade from the time that you published Inheritance to the time that you published another book that people cared about, To Sleep in the Sea of Stars. What were you doing during this time besides Minecraft?
Have you seen my storage system in Minecraft?
I have. It's pretty solid.
It's not just solid. It's it's like I built a computer in Minecraft. I honestly, I could have written another book.
I was going to say, imagine if you had just written a book instead.
What was I doing in those 10 years? Well, I suppose I was just relaxing on my giant pile of money. Plagiarism pays, nepotism pays. I was just relaxing, enjoying life. And then I decided that I should probably, pay tribute to a lot of the sci-fi games and movies that I enjoyed, and pluck up a bunch of pieces from them and paste them all together and put out a new book. And that was To Sleep in a Sea of Stars.
That's fantastic.
Absolutely. And you know what's even better?
What?
It won Best Sci-Fi of the Year over at Goodreads.
I'm starting to wonder if you might be a pretty smart guy.
You know, people have said that on occasion, but I don't really believe it.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
No, I wouldn't.
But the first book that you released after your dry spell was not To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. It was an official Aragon coloring book.
Yeah.
After that...
Do you know how long it took to write that as well?
No.
I mean, my God, that was like 3 years of solid work.
Wow.
I mean, the art aside, I didn't have to do the art, but just figuring out the words for a coloring book,
Yeah.
It hurts.
Do you think that coloring books are the key to curing writer's block? And do you recommend other best-selling fantasy authors struggling to publish a new book for the last decade to try this approach as well?
Absolutely. You know, although the thing is, like I said, it was hard to write. If you're having trouble writing in general, you might find that tackling a coloring book actually sets you back even further. You know, especially since some authors, not going to name names, don't have any discipline and would probably start doing like a 10-book series in coloring books. So, but it was a rewarding experience. I really learned a lot as an author, and I've been able to apply that knowledge from the coloring book to my future books.
Yeah, it's such a shame that Tolkien published so few books. Imagine what he could have accomplished if he put out a coloring book during his career.
Exactly. Of course, you know, the problem with coloring books is they tend to be all black and white, so it's very hard to get any shades of gray in your characters.
You know who loves a good coloring book, though?
Do tell.
Children.
I know.
What do you think are the right reasons to have a kid?
You need someone to do the dishes for you.
The Guinness World Records recognized you as the youngest author of a best-selling book series on January 5th, 2011.
Right.
I think I'm going to wait another couple of years to have a kid until ChatGPT is really good, and then I'll use that to get my baby to write a best-selling novel and take your Guinness World Record.
Well, then your kid will have to come to my house and fight me for the record. Let's see, in about 10 years, I'll be 50, but I'll still be in better shape than your kid, so we'll have to see how that goes. However, so you know, the sales mark for that is about 40 million copies at the moment.
Okay.
So unless you can hit that, Guinness World Records won't give you the record.
What do you think I should do with the kid after it served its purpose?
Ooh, good question. Well, you release them into the wild. It's like catch and release.
Right.
You know, you put them out in the wild, and sometimes they return back to the spawn point, and sometimes they just disappear.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just kind of leave them out, and if you're lucky, they come back, and otherwise, you don't have to worry about them. You know, if you never see them again, you can have another one. You go read some books. You know, it's no big deal.
That's exactly what I thought you'd say. Discard the child just like you did with Carl Hiaasen's stepson.
Absolutely, and then you don't have to pay royalties.
On Reddit, you were recently asked what other 3 authors you would choose to help fend off a horde of 6-year-olds. You chose Bradley Taylor Grieve, Brandon Mull. He's super nice, you said, but very tall and has great reach.
Yeah.
And then you said Jim Butcher.
Yeah.
You said that between the 4 of you, you thought you could hold off a horde of 6-year-olds pretty much indefinitely. At the end of the day, there's probably nothing unethical about it, since the average 6-year-old would probably also change out the first letter of the word dragon and make it the main character's name.
Yeah.
So you guys are basically on the same level intellectually.
Absolutely, but different level physically.
While we're on that topic of names, at one of your Inheritance book signings in San Francisco, you said that Aragon's name was originally Kevin. Mm-hmm. Was Aragon's name originally Kevin?
It was. And I really regret I didn't stick with it, because I think that as many books as I've sold, the series would have been at least twice as successful if it had been about the adventures of the great dragon rider Kevin.
Especially just seeing Kevin on the front cover.
Yeah, imagine the appeal to the modern youth. Kevin the dragon rider. Aragon, it's confusing with Aragorn, Oregano, Oregon, but Kevin stands out. Kevin's original. That's why I had to move away from it.
Speaking of past mistakes,
Are there any other kind?
The ones you plan on making?
But they haven't happened yet, so are they really mistakes? You know what happens if you don't pick up your order from your order of like sirloin or something from a restaurant?
No.
They're missed steaks. Mistakes. You know what you call it when a cow is, laying down? It's ground beef. If you put a steer on stilts, then you get high stakes. Yeah. You know why you always have trouble talking with dragon riders? Because their head's usually up in the clouds. You know why dragons are so good at everything? Because they're so talented. Mm-hmm.
Are you done now?
No, I can keep going.
Do you want to?
You ever hear the one about corduroy pillows? Yeah, they've been making headlines everywhere. That's the height of my authorial talent right there.
Yeah. I guess you could have been a stand-up comedian if you didn't prefer to sit. Can I ask my questions now?
I don't know. Do you want to?
I saw that you own one of those silly plots of land in Scotland so that you can call yourself a Scottish lord. I also saw that there's a CD on Mars that has your name on it or something. You seem pretty enamored with paying money to micro-colonize stuff. I won't even ask how your NFT investments are going for you right now. But this seemed like a good opportunity for me to make some cash. So I was just wondering if you would want to buy the exclusive rights to own my left butt cheek. Just the left one.
Do I get to tattoo it with whatever I want?
It's going to cost more.
I could afford it. What's the price range we're talking about?
I did not come prepared for this.
I literally signed a guy's knee last evening at my signing, and he's getting it tattooed today. Event before last, I signed a guy's calf muscle, and he got it tattooed, and a woman's shoulder that she's getting tattooed. And there is at least one woman walking around in the world with a full-color, photorealistic, life-sized portrait of my face tattooed on her thigh. So I think you should think very carefully about this offer, because I will do horrible things to you with this tattoo.
If you can get me in with Mr. and Mrs. Paolini, you've got a deal.
So the tattoo will just say Nepo baby.
Yeah, I'm down.
And then a portrait of my face.
Yeah. And we could be brothers. Wouldn't it be so
Wow,
cool? Haven't you always wanted like a little brother?
Yeah, actually, just to get in fights with.
If you have Jim Butcher on your side, I'm not fighting you.
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
That's probably a good idea.
Your career in the future may involve more butt cheeks than you realize.
Oh?
The fourth most popular review on Aragon's Goodreads is from a user who made a short list of things that they find more enjoyable than reading Aragon. Getting dental work done, doing math homework, and getting a colonoscopy. It seems to me that the only way we can figure out scientifically if Aragon is better or worse than these things is through a series of empirical experiments.
No, see, this is fantastic, though, because obviously I'm encouraging this reader to be a good citizen and to take care of himself. And he paid for the book, one assumes. So obviously Aragon is a force for good in the world through inspiring this person to get their teeth cleaned and have their health checked on and all these other things. So I'm going to sleep well tonight knowing that I've improved this person's health.
As you should, but I think we could go a step further than just the book making a positive change for the world. In the interest of science, Christopher, in the interest of standing up for your life's work, are you willing to perform dental work, tutor mathematics, and perform colonoscopies on your readers until the matter is solved for better or for worse?
Let me put this into context. At 15, I was willing, with no prior experience, to attempt to write an epic fantasy novel. I will very happily, with no hesitation, attempt dental work on anyone, attempt to teach advanced mathematics to anyone, as well as those other items that I've now completely forgotten because they're unimportant. And I will do all of that with absolutely no preparation or proper training because obviously I can do whatever I set my mind to.
You're an inspiration to us
I
all.
try.
You're so cool. You aren't exactly the kind of guy that I would openly give like a bad review to, though, like this person has.
Good, you should do it anonymously.
Yeah.
That's what the internet was made for.
I wouldn't give you a bad review like under my real name because I can't think of any other author whose magic system is specifically able to give someone testicular torsion. Could we get a firm pronunciation of that spell?
It would be bowler. That's actually how you would say it. Bowler. That's ball, of course. Thrysta. Bowler Thrysta. And it's considered the worst spell in the world of Aragon. You're really discouraged from using it, and those who use it are usually exiled and or killed on the spot.
Wow, so it's sort of akin to like an unforgivable curse.
It is an unforgivable curse, that's right.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I'll have to remember that spell for the next time someone suggests a really bad idea.
Like leaving a bad review on my books.
No, I was thinking like if someone said, hey, do you guys want to go watch Aragon?